What's going down now? It's Dr. Tim Wu, SoCal Bike PT. And I'm just coming back home from picking up my oldest son, Jackson, who's turning 7 soon. And I wanted to hop on here. I was feeling inspired because I have this like mission, this vision of a world, where like glute doping, like all y'all do it. Like you ride bikes, you glute dope. You have problems, you do it. Like it solves all these things, not as some ethereal idea, but like practical principles. So in my training as like a physical therapist, like the Dr. Wu part, like yeah, I'm a physical therapist, have that training, have the education. Like I know how like one-on-one in a very special way to take any rider from like, I've been in pain for like literal years or from crazy injury, you know, from that abyss of everything hurts and sucks all the way to riding really well. And the number of stories and cases of that, like I just stopped counting because I don't like keeping track of numbers because I can't remember things. But like my assistant, Scout, you were one of these people. Like you were in the abyss. Like I can't ride at all. Like at all. Like a year later, you're winning crazy crits and like your knee's wild. So the process I've figured out to go through that is nothing special. It's normal physical therapy stuff that I was trained on. But what's special is that in my trying to become like an okay bike rider, I've accidentally but intentionally become like a really good bike rider. And I don't give myself enough like credit for being okay at racing, but like I think I'm okay at racing. And in that, I forget that like what I come up with, like glute doping stuff, is for everyone. It's for everyone who bought a bike in the pandemic and then walked out and was like, I'm a cyclist now, and then called me 6 months later when their knees were killing them. Like, I don't want you to wait around until everything hurts. What I want is a practical way for anyone to train the body so that you can like ride all the bikes and not be in pain and unlock your potential and all this stuff. So this is what that looks like. I did an evaluation of an awesome dude today who shall remain nameless, but I drew out what glute doping is as a process like I do to every single person on the whiteboard here. And I just want to take an opportunity before I erased it to show you what it is. Because it's not a secret. I want you all to do this. And so I have a like PT mentor who's like helped me figure this out and bring glute doping to all of you, amazing people, and practice bike riding. Her name's Shantae, and she was like, you just need to like start practicing showing people and put it in the hands of every like normal person. Like you ride bikes, you have a job, you have a family like me. Like I think I'm just like a normal average rider, like I really do. But then through the power of training my body with glute doping and then like slowly but steadily getting better, have lucked my way into some very cool opportunities to race bikes with like really good riders, and I legit get nervous about it. So I'm hyper motivated and I want to show you what we got after. So if you stuck around this long and you're willing to put in the work, I'm gonna show you what glute doping is, the exact process I take literally every single rider through. Whether you're like a normal person like me and you have a day job and you want to ride bikes on the weekend, you got kids and everything hurts, all the way to like literal national champions and world tour riders that I work with remotely. This is the exact same process. Let's go check it out. So we're down here. We want to get up here where you're awesome forever. I'm going to go over what this all means, okay? So we have 4 distinct phases in what glute doping is, okay? There's the restore phase, there's rebuild, there's retrain, and then rip it, because we want to go rip it. That's me at SoCal Bike PT. We're talking about glute doping, okay? So in the pyramid of performance, I have done a whole podcast about the pyramid of performance. Like this is how I think in my brain. Welcome. At the bottom is being a functional human. And then on top of that, you build being a general athlete. And then there's like cycling specific stuff. And that's you at the top wanting to be awesome. That's I. This is all like a very iceberg effect. If you've never heard the iceberg metaphor, like the tip of the iceberg you can see, but the rest of the iceberg is like this huge thing under the ocean. There's a lot more than meets the eye. So when you see someone's cycling specific ability be like amazing, like especially the world-class riders really train their bodies appropriately, you know, the talented ones who really put the work in, like you're seeing the tip of that, but there's all this craziness underneath that they're amazing. Like cut to that viral Peter Sagan video of him like doing the splits on a Swiss ball, and everyone's amazed by it. I'm like, nah, dog, I would expect that he can do that. Like for me, Dr. Wu, I'm like, if he can't do that, I'm very surprised. So in this, most of your pain or problems start here. And you're not a functional human. You're just not. Like most people that work at the professionals with families. There's a lot of car driving in traffic. There's a lot of desk sitting, like that's my desk, that's my car, I have these same struggles. And in dealing with that, like you start becoming less of a functional human. You don't have all your range of motion. You don't have like the activation of muscles that you would use if you're like an active, running around the world primal human. You ain't got that anymore. So you got to restore that. So in the restore phase, we focus on activation, connection, and mobility. Activation is like, can we get our brain to at least tell the right parts of our body to work right? The connection part is like, lock that in. Like dial-up internet versus like this wild 5G world we're living in. We want the strongest, fastest connection, and we've got to be able to activate that. And there's also mobility. It's not stretching. Mobility is a category. Like, does your body actually move like it's supposed to move as a human, right? None of y'all can get your arms overhead. None of y'all can like squat your knees over your toes. Like, that's a functional human problem. Fix it. All right, mobility. Here's where you focus on isolated isometrics. That's a lot of like the clams, the side leg abduction, the hydrants, all the glute booty stuff that like, I didn't invent, but like you got to start there because when you isolate isometrically, you really improve the activation connection. It's insane. That's why it burns something fierce. And then you got to move that into more dynamic. This is all done on the floor because to be a functional human, you got to start on the floor and learn from the ground up, just like we all did as babies. Usually this takes about like 3 sessions across usually about like 6 to 8 weeks. It's like session, evaluate, like see where you're at, do glute doping program, boop, 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 and then you're better. And then do that again. It's usually about 3 times I see people through there. Rebuild phase, this is where like you were down in this hole and it sucks and you crawled your way out, but you don't want to fall back in the hole and restore constantly between these 2 phases. No, we got to build out this foundation on which to build the pyramid. And I literally drew you, there's you on the foundation. And this is the hard part. You got to take that activation connection we work here at the glutes and the core, and then you got to integrate. Cycling is about doing a lot of things at the same time. It's bracing the core to breathe, bracing the core while breathing, to push from while you generate power, while your glutes are doing things, while your arms are doing things. Like if you have to think consciously about doing all that, like you're screwed. It has to be automatic. It has to be automatic. It really does. You got to train that. So training takes time. It takes stimulus, adaptation. Your brain works different. Now you can do it. So rebuild, we really work on integrating all of this stuff with some new functional mobility, meaning like you're less stiff so you can move more comfortably and then eventually move more. Like you just need to. Cycling is all right here forever. We need to open that up a little bit. So we spend all of our time in quadruped, bridging, and kneeling. Quadrupeds on your knees, hands and knees, great position. No one ever spends time there, and it basically looks like bike riding. Bridging is great because it's also something you did as a baby before you could walk, and it's really good to retrain there. Kneeling is amazing because you can practice all the core and glute stuff, but like take your lower leg out of it, where everyone cheats. So once you go through rebuild, usually we spend another like 3 sessions or so through there, usually around 6 to 12 weeks. This is a long block to try to nail all these standards. Like it takes a minute because it's the blank slate. Like no one spends time in those positions, so you can really learn and train quickly. And then all of a sudden you get retrained back on your feet and it clicks because you handled all the like functional human stuff. Like you're functional-ish human again. And now you can become a general athlete, which is like, when I mean general athlete, these are more like my kind of standards, which is like, can you squat? Can you have access and strength in all your range of motion? Can you stand on one leg? Like the basics. So we got to retrain your activation, your integration, and your connection all the way back to your feet again. Once you're here, you can start working on balance. And balance is the pathway to power. I'm gonna zoom in on power. Everyone wants that power. It's pathway to power because balance is how naturally you control things. And if you want to feel strong all the time, you don't need to be all crazy and strong. Like I'm tiny. I'm very powerful because I have a lot of good balance. And there you learn to rip it. And rip it for every rider I work with one-on-one is all you. So this guy is, very cycling specific, is ultra endurance mountain bikes. We only do like ultra endurance mountain bike specific stuff there. But this is glute doping as a process, and my goal over time, my vision, is to make this like a do-it-yourself kind of standard program that anyone in the world can do and knock it out. Always be activating. I'm out.